లావణ్య మేడం వచ్చింది ఇంగ్లీష్ కోర్స్ ఇచ్చేసిన యూట్యూబ్ కనెక్ట్ చేసేసిన ఇంతకుముందు కనబడి మళ్ళీ
టైం కాలేదు కదా లైవ్ ఇచ్చే ఏం కాదు
ఇంతకుముందు వచ్చిపోయిందా ఇగో గిద్దుడు ఇది ఎవరు మంది పని వస్తుంది ओप्पो A5 2020
कर देना।
अच्छा
हेलो నమస్తే చెప్పండి బాగున్నా బా చెప్తున్నా నాకు అదే ఎగ్జామ్స్ మొన్న ఎగ్జామ్స్ పెట్టింది కదా ఫస్ట్ సెమిస్టర్ డేట్స్ అనౌన్స్మెంట్ కాలేదు ఆర్టికల్ పెట్టినప్పుడు చెప్తాను డేట్స్ అనౌన్స్మెంట్ కాలేదు ఫోర్త్ సెమిస్టర్ రెండో సెమిస్టర్ నడుస్తుంది అది క్లియర్ అయినాక పెడతారు పక్కనే ఓకే అవును వాళ్ళ కంటిన్యూస్ ఉంటే వాళ్ళకి గమ్ము పడతారు చెప్తారు అయిపోయిందా ఇవాళ అయిపోయిందా మంచిగానే ఆయన పేరు సాధారణ
అరే ఎవరు అదే అనుకుంటా జనరల్లీ కదా చెప్తే ఇంగ్లీష్ మీడియం సార్ వస్తలేరు సైకాలజీ ఇంగ్లీష్ మీడియం ఇది లావణ్య ఐడియా ఇక్కడ అవునా ఇక్కడ వస్తుంది అసలు యాక్చువల్గా ఫీల్ క్రికెట్ ఫోటో నాకు ఓపెన్ చేసి ఎవరు స్టూడెంట్ లేరు నాకు నోట్ చేసి
Good afternoon. Am I audible to you? Good afternoon. Am I audible to you? The next unit deals with the constitutional bodies. We are dealing with the semester 3. In the semester 3, we have the paper on Indian administration. Under Indian administration, now we are going to deal with the constitutional bodies. So the constitutional bodies, these are created by the Constitution of India. As they are created by the Constitution, they can also be amended and changed by passing a constitutional amendment bill. And some of the constitutional bodies that exist in India are Election Commission, Union Public Service Commission, Finance Commission, and National Commission for SCs, STs, and Women. So this Election Commission, it's under our unit, we are going to discuss Union Public Service Commission and Election Commission. So the elections to the various, from the president to the local bodies, the elections are conducted by the Election Commission. Now we'll see what are the history and rules and regulations and working of the Election Commission. Election Commission of India was established on 25th January 1950 under the Indian Constitution. The Election Commission is an autonomous constitutional authority. It is held responsible for the administering, union, and state election process in the country. Election Commission of India governs elections to the Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha, and state legislative assemblies in India, and the offices of the Vice President and President in the nation. So right from the, as we have discussed, right from the office of the President, Vice President, Prime Minister, that is the members of the Parliament and members of the legislative assemblies, and to the local bodies, that is Panchayati Raj and municipalities, the role of the conducting of the elections is assigned to the Election Commission. The articles that deal with the powers, functions, tenure, eligibility, etc. of the Election Commission of India are Article 324, the control and direction of elections to be vested in the Election Commission. Article 325, no person to be stated ineligible for inclusion in or to claim to be included in special electoral roll on the grounds of religion, race, caste, or sex. Under Article 326, it says that elections in the houses and the legislative assemblies of the states to be based on the adult suffrage. Article 327, authority granted to the Parliament to make provisions for concerning the elections in the legislatures. Article 328, power of the legislature of the state to make provisions relating to elections for legislatures. Article 329, interference of courts in matters of electoral commission. Very good. The articles that deal with the powers, functions, tenure, eligibility, etc. of the Election Commission of India are Article 324. Article 324, the control and direction of elections to be vested in the Election Commission. Article 325, no person to be stated ineligible for inclusion in or to claim to be included in special electoral roll on the grounds of religion, race, caste, or sex. Under Article 326, elections in the houses and legislative assemblies of the states to be based on adult suffrage. Under Article 327, authority granted to the Parliament to make provisions concerning the elections in the legislatures. Article 328, the power of the legislature of the state to make provisions relating to the elections for legislatures. Article 329 states that interference of courts in the matters of electoral commission. Now we'll see what is the composition of Election Commission. The members contained in the consists of the Election Commission. The Election Commission of India contains one election commissioner, some officer, and 2 election commissioners. I repeat, the Election Commission of India contains one election commission officer and 2 election commissioners. And it shall be noted that the President of India appoints election commission officers and election commissioners. As it is a constitutional body, the head of the election commission, that is the chairman, the election commission officer, and the election commissioners are appointed by the president. After the appointment, they are supposed to serve for 6 years or up to the age of 65 years, whichever is earlier. The secretariat of the election commission is put up in the national capital, Delhi. Powers and functions of election commission. Some of the many powers and functions of the election commissioner are It allows recognition and symbols of the political parties. The Election Commission prepares electoral rolls and issues an electronic photo identity card, also known as EPIC. It decides the election schedules for the conduction of periodic and timely elections, both general and by-elections. The Commission issues the model of conduct that needs to be followed by the political parties during the election campaign. It also sets a limit of campaign expenditure per candidate and also monitors them. It makes sure that the elections are held with the utmost credibility, fairness, freeness, integrity, accountability, transparency, and more. So the powers and functions of the election commissioner, it allows recognition and symbols of the political parties. If any political party want to have a political party, then the symbols and the recognition is allotted by the election commission. And then the election commission prepares electoral rolls and issues voter ID card or electronic photo identity card. It decides the election schedules. That is, the election commission decides when the election is going to be conducted or scheduled, both the general elections or the by-elections. The commission issues model code of conduct that needs to be followed by the political parties during the election campaigns. It also sets a limit of campaign expenditure per candidate and also monitors them. So when the candidates are going to campaign for the political party to win the elections, they use a lot of money in the campaigning. So that the using of money in the campaigning, that it is restricted to some amount, and that limit is set by the election commission. It makes sure that the elections are held with the utmost credibility, fairness, freeness, integrity, accountability, and transparency, and more. And the procedure for removal of the election commissioner. Since the election commissioner enjoys the same perks as that of the judge of the Supreme Court of India, therefore, his process of removal is also same as that of the Supreme Court judge by the Parliament. In other words, the removal of the election commission or the process of removal of the election commissioner is same as a judge of a Supreme Court. So this is all about the election commission. Now we'll move on to the Union Public Service Commission. So Union Public Service Commission, which is the highest recruiting authority in our country, and it recruits to the All India services. The history of the Union Public Service Commission is, the first Public Service Commission was set up back in the year 1926 on 1st October. However, it was on 26 January 1950, it was accorded constitutional status. With this commission, also known as Union Public Service Commission. So before this, the UPSC was formed in the year 1926 on 1st October. Earlier, the civil servants were recruited in the Britain or the Britain civil services, and after the independence, and after the independence, on 26 January 1950, it was accorded constitutional status, and with this, it was given the title of a Union Public Service Commission, known as the Union UPSC. The composition of UPSC. The Union Public Service Commission, headed by a chairman and has other members at the bottom. They are selected by the President of the country. The members of the commission are reckoned to have an office for at least 10 years, either under the Government of India or the Government of a state. I repeat, the Union Public Service Commission, headed by a chairman and has other members at the bottom. They are selected by the President of the country. The members of the commission are reckoned to have an office for at least 10 years, either under the Government of India or the Government of a state. The chairman and members of the commission are supposed to hold office for either 6 years or till they complete 65 years of age, whichever is earlier. Now we'll see what are the powers and functions of the Union Public Service Commission. Some of the many powers and functions of the UPSC are as follows. As it is a recruiting agency, it is responsible for the conduct of exams concerning the appointments to the service of the Union, that includes All India services, central and public services of the Union territory. So it is a duty of the Union Public Service Commission to conduct exams for the appointment to the services of Union that includes all India services, central services, and public services of the Union territories. This commission is consulted on matters relating to the recruitment of civil services and civil posts. The commission assists the states in framing and operating the schemes for the joint recruitment of any services. The work done by the commission is presented to the president of the country annually in the form of a report. So whatever the work done by the commission, for every year it has to submit a report to the president. If the president refers, then the commission is consulted on any matter relating to the personal management. So on any matter relating to the personal management or the services of the country, then the president refers, then the president can consult it on the personal management. Now we'll see how the removal of the UPSC chairman. Chairman or any other member of the Union Public Service Commission shall be removed before his term only by the order of the president on the grounds of misbehavior. It needs to be presented before the Supreme Court. So the tenure of the chairman of the Union Public Service Commission is 6 years or 65 years of age, whichever is earlier. If he wanted to be removed before his term on proved misbehavior or on the grounds of misbehavior, then he can be removed by the order of the president, and it needs to be presented before the Supreme Court. Now we'll move on to what are the All India services. All India services. The All India services comprises three civil services, namely Indian Administrative Service (IAS) and the Indian Police Service or IPS and the Indian Forest Service (IFS). The All India services, which run throughout the whole, which give service or which serve the country, the whole country, are divided into three civil services, namely the Indian Administrative Service (IAS) and the Indian Police Service (IPS) and Indian Forest Service (IFS). A unique feature of All India services is that the members of this service are recruited by the center, that is Union government, but their services are placed under the various state cadres, and they have the liability to serve both under the state and under the center. So all the IAS officers, IPS officers, Indian Forest Services, they are appointed by the Union government by the under the order of the president, but these people work in the state governments. That is, they work both under the state government and under the center. These civil services who assist the ministers in their day-to-day administration and forms a steel frame to the country. Due to the federal polity of the country, this is considered one of the tools that makes Union government stronger than the state governments. As we have the features of the both federal and the unitary features in our constitutional setup by our administration. So these All India services, they are appointed by the center, but they work under the state governments, but they work under the directions of the Union government. The history of the All India services. The history of All India services dates back to the British era, when initially civil servants are appointed by the Court of Directors of the British East India Company. The civil service in those times was known as Coordinated Civil Service. With time, they came to be known as Indian Civil Service. So when the country was under the British administration and the imperial regime, these services, mostly the civil servants were from the British, and they worked in the Indian East India Company or in the Indian Kingdom. So earlier they were appointed by the Court of Directors of the British East India Company, and these were known as the Coordinated Civil Service. And as they later on, when the Crown took over the administration of India, these services are known as the Indian Civil Services, where Indians were also took the examination and appointed in the Indian Civil Service. Later on, after independence of India, that is in 1947, with gaining Indian independence, ICS, Indian Civil Services, was replaced by Indian Administrative Service, and the Indian Police Service was replaced by Indian Police Service. Indian Police was replaced by Indian Police Service, that is IPS, and were recognized by the Indian Constitution as All India Services. In 1963, the Indian Forest Service was created and it came into existence in 1963. So ICS, Indian Civil Services, after independence, it was replaced by the Indian Administrative Service, by the All India Services, by as Indian Administrative Service, that is IAS officers, and the Indian Police Service. Police was replaced by Indian Police Service, and Indian Forest Service was created in 1966. The power, purpose, and responsibilities of the All India Services. The power, purpose, and responsibilities of these All India Services are described in the All India Services Act 1951, which authorizes the Government of India, with the consultation of the state governments, to make guidelines and procedures for the service conditions and recruitment of the people appointed to All India Services. The purpose, the responsibility of All India Services are described in the All India Service Act 1951, which authorizes the Government of India, with the consultation of the state governments, to make guidelines and procedures for the service conditions and the recruitment of the people appointed to the All India Services. The All India Service Rules 1968 governs the All India Services, which specifies the code of conduct for civil servants overall. Responsibilities. The responsibilities of the officers vary from junior civil servant officers, who start with the probation as they go up in the hierarchical positions, to the senior civil servant. So as soon as they are appointed as a civil into the Indian Administrative Service, so they are known as when they are in the probation period, they are known as a junior civil servant officers. And as they go up to the hierarchical positions, so they finally reach to the level of senior civil servant, who are mostly placed in the chief minister or the prime ministerial service as a chief secretaries. Now the responsibilities at the district level, the responsibilities are related to matters of the district and all affairs of the development. When these civil servants are placed at the district level, their responsibilities are related to the matters of the development of the district, the mandals, and the villages, and all the affairs of the development related to the district. And at the divisional level, the job is related to the law and order and controlling the people and maintaining peace. And at the state and the central levels, when they are appointed in the cabinet secretariat or the central secretariat, the duty or the responsibility of the civil servant is in the framing of policies. So they frame the policies, and the junior civil servants, they implement the policies. Now, the nature of the work of the civil servants or the All India Services. The responsibilities vary with the seniority of the civil servant. Junior officers begin with the probation and move up in the hierarchy. At the district level, the responsibilities are concerned with the district matters as well as of the developmental affairs, while at divisional level, the responsibilities focus on law and order also, and policy framing is carried on the state and federal levels. So this is all about the All India Services. Now we'll move on to the Niti Aayog, which is replaced by these are some of the constitutional bodies. Now we'll move on to the Niti Aayog, which is replaced by the Planning Commission. So after the constitutional bodies, we have the Niti Aayog, that is National Institution for Transforming India, under the Government of India. Earlier, for the development of the country, from the 1950, as soon as we got the independence, the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers, all the union ministers, they thought of planning for the development of the country. For this purpose, they established a Planning Commission in 1950. And the duty of the Planning Commission is to make plans for every 5 years for the development of the country, right from with all the sectors, right from the agriculture sector, industrial sector, or the service sector. As the country was immediately, I was facing with the problem of migration, refugees, and shortage of food grains. So the duty of the planning commission is to make plans for the development of the country by improving the agriculture sector, by developing more and more industrial sector, and giving a boost to the service sector. So this planning commission was worked up to the till 1914, till 2014. In 2014, under the Prime Ministership of Mr. Narendra Modi, this planning commission was replaced by NITI Aayog, that is National Institution for Transforming India. It is also called as the NITI Aayog. It was formed by the resolution of the Union Cabinet on Jan 1st, 2015. It is not a constitutional body. It was formed by the resolution of the Union Cabinet on January 1st, 2015. NITI Aayog is the premier policy think tank of the Government of India, providing both directional and policy inputs. So it is a think tank of the Government of India, and it provides the direction and policy inputs in framing the policies for the development of the country, while designing strategic and long-term policies and programs for the Government of India. NITI Aayog also provides relevant technical advice to the center and states. Not only for the development, it also provides the direction and policy inputs only for the union government. It also provides technical advice to the center and the states also, state governments also. The governing council of NITI Aayog, with the Prime Minister as its chairman, comprises chief ministers of all states and lieutenant governors of union territories. The NITI Aayog consists of the Prime Minister as the chairman, and the other members include the chief ministers of all the states under the Union and lieutenant governors of the union territories. Now, the present composition of NITI Aayog. Now, presently NITI Aayog consists of the chairperson as Sri Narendra Modi, Honorable Prime Minister, Vice Chairperson Dr. Rajiv Kumar. Full-time members are Sri V.K. Saraswat, Professor Ramesh Chand, Dr. V.K. Paul, and ex-officio members are Sri Rajnath Singh, Minister of Defence, Sri Amit Shah, Minister of Home Affairs, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, Minister of Finance and Minister of Corporate Affairs, Sri Narendra Singh Tomar, Minister of Agriculture and Farmers, Welfare Minister of Rural Development, Minister of Panchayati Raj, and all the chief ministers of all the states. The features of the NITI Aayog. NITI Aayog is developing itself as a state-of-the-art resource center with the necessary resources, knowledge, and skills that will enable it to act with the speed, promote research and innovation, provide strategic policy vision for the government, and deal with the contingent issues. That is, it itself as a state-of-the-art of resource center, it with the necessary resources, knowledge, and skills, it enabled to act with the speed, promote research and innovation, provide strategic policy vision of the government, and deal with the contingent issues. NITI Aayog's entire gamut of activities can be divided into 4 main heads, that is, design policy and program framework, foster cooperative federalism, monitoring and evaluation, think tank, and knowledge and innovation hub. So the first duty or the activity of the NITI Aayog consists of the design policy and program framework. So the duty is to design the policies for the development of the country and make the programs for the development of the country, including the central plans and the state plans. And foster cooperative federalism. Cooperative federalism means including all the chief ministers in the NITI Aayog. It promotes federalism. Then monitoring and evaluation. After the policies are designed, after the programs are framed, when the policies are implemented, it also monitors and evaluates the performance of the policies and check the outcomes of the policies and make sure that the next coming policy should be developed more. And then it acts as a think tank, a knowledge and innovation hub. So to develop a new innovations. It acts as a think tank and a knowledge hub. Now, what is the new with the Niti Aayog? So, as it is replaced the Planning Commission, then what is the new with the Niti Aayog than the Planning Commission? The center to state one-way flow of policy that was the hallmark of the Planning Commission era is now sought to be replaced by genuine and continuing partnership of states. Niti Aayog, more a think tank than a finance distributing agency. Niti Aayog will provide governments at the central and the state levels with relevant strategic and technical advice across the spectrum of key elements of the policy. With the Niti Aayog, there will be multi-directional flow of policy from center to states, from states to center, between ministers, etc. Better inter-ministry coordination. The Niti Aayog will develop mechanisms to formulate credible plans to the village level and aggregate these progressively at the higher levels of the government. The Niti Aayog will create a knowledge, innovation, and entrepreneurial support system through a collaborative community of national and international experts. As we have discussed, this is a think tank of the central government. It provides governments at the central level and the state level with relevant strategic and technical advice, as it is comprised of all the intellectuals and the research professors and researchers. It provides a strategic and technical advice across the spectrum of key elements of the policy. There will be a multi-directional flow of policy from centers to states and from centers to center. Earlier, the flow of policy and the flow of information or the advice is from the center to states only in the planning commission. Now it is a multi-directional flow. Whatever if the states want to have a new policy for the development of the country, they can give a direction, they can give an advice to the center also. That is the policy flow or the direction, the flow of information is from the centers to states, from the states to center, and between ministries, etc. Both better inter-ministry coordination. The Niti Aayog develop mechanisms to formulate credible plans to the village level and aggregate these progressively at the higher levels of the government. The Niti Aayog will create a knowledge, innovation, and entrepreneurial support system through a collaborative community of national and international experts. The National Institution for Transforming India will act as a catalyst for the development by a holistic approach. Niti Aayog is based on the seven pillars of effective governance, that is, pro-people, proactivity, participation, empowering, inclusion of all, equality, transparency. So the 7 pillars of Niti Aayog for effective governance includes pro-people, that is, it is related to people or helping the people or people oriented. And then proactivity, it is activity based, not only a think tank, it also involved in that is not only framing the policy, it also involves in the policy implementation also, the activity based. And then participation, it involves the people's participation in the administration or in the implementation of the policy. And empowering the citizens in the policy formulation and policy implementation. And inclusion of all means it gives all equal opportunities to all the sections of the people, that is irrelevant of the religion, caste, creed, sex, etc. So all the people are included in the policy framework and policy implementation. Equality, so the policies or the programs which are designed for the development of the nation are distributed, or the fruits of the development are distributed equally to all the sections of the people. And transparency, that is the people to the Right to Information Act, the people know what the government is doing, that is they are answerable to the people. In Niti Aayog, the state government has an equal role in nation's development process, and Niti Aayog promises the principle of cooperative federalism. Niti Aayog is planned as a think tank institution which stands not only as a hub for knowledge but also for good governance. It's a platform for monitoring and implementation of all government policies by bringing together various ministries at the center and state level. Priorities include upliftment of the poor, marginalized, and downtrodden. The priority of the Niti Aayog includes upliftment of the poor or the removal of poverty, marginalized and downtrodden. Marginalized, that is the inclusion of the women, physically handicapped, SC and STs, and the downtrodden people. It enables the empowerment of vulnerable and marginalized sections, redressing identity-based inequalities of all kinds, gender, region, religion, caste, or class. The objectives and opportunities of Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog will aim to accomplish the following objectives and opportunities. An administration paradigm in which the government is an enabler rather than a provider of the first and last resort. Progress from food security to focus on a mix of agriculture production as well as actual returns that farmers get from their produce. It ensures that India is an active player in the debates and deliberations on the global commons. Ensure that the economically vibrant middle class remains engaged and its potential is fully realized. It leverages India's pool of entrepreneurial, scientific, intellectual, human capital. It incorporates the significant geo-economic and geopolitical strength of the non-resident Indian community. That is, it involves in its ambit the administration. It is rather than provide for the first and last resort. It tries to progress for the food security, that is providing food to all sections of the people, and it also focus on the mix of agriculture production and as well as the returns that the farmers get from their produce. And it is also involved active planner in debates and deliberations on the global arena. Whenever India participates in the global issues, that is, if you say the UNO or world forums, it involves as an active player. Then it ensures that the economically vibrant middle class remains engaged and fully realized, and it leverages or supports Indian entrepreneurs, the new entrepreneurs, or the budding entrepreneurs, and it promotes scientific and intellectual human capital. And it also provides a geopolitical strength of the non-resident Indian community. This is one of the example of the Niti Aayog, that is wholesome and secure habitat through the use of modern technology. Now, aims of the Niti Aayog. The Niti Aayog aims to enable India to better face complex challenges to the following: leveraging of India's demographic dividend, realizing of the potential of youth, men and women through education, skill development, elimination of gender bias, and employment. So it improves or leveraging of India's demographic dividend and realization of the potential of youth, men and women through education, skill development, elimination of gender bias, and employment. It aims at elimination of poverty and the chance of every Indian to live a life of dignity and self-respect, redressal of inequalities based on gender bias, caste, and economic disparities, integrate villages institutionally into the development process, policy support to more than 50 million small businesses, which are a major source of employment creation, and safeguarding of our environmental and ecological assets. Now we'll see what is the difference between the Niti Aayog and the Planning Commission. In the organization, Planning Commission had deputy chairperson, a member secretary, and a full-time members, secretaries or member secretaries appointed by the usual process. Niti Aayog comprised of new posts of CEO of secretary rank, vice chairperson, and it also have full-time members and 2 part-time members. 4 cabinet ministers will serve as ex-officio members. CEO is appointed directly by Prime Minister. In planning commission goes up from top-down planning for government with public sector resources. That is the centralized planning with the public sector resources. Niti Aayog formulate national development strategy in market economy integrated with a globalized world. In relation with the states, the Planning Commission was a central government institution and no representation of state government. There was no structural mechanism for interaction with the states. NITI Aayog provides a partnership with the state governments to promote cooperative federalism. It provides a platform for structured and regular interaction. As we discussed, the flow of information or making of policies not only from the center, even the states can participate in the policy formulation and they can give the advice to the center between the states or center to states or the states to center and between the ministries also. And the finance, the role of finance commission was greatly reduced with the formation of planning commission. Allocation of funds were decided by the planning commission. NITI Aayog don't have any role in fund allocation. Finance ministry to decide the share of taxes to states, fund allocation of CSS, and union assistance to the state plan. The constitution and reporting. Planning commission, the commission reported to National Development Council that had the state chief ministers and lieutenant governors. NITI Aayog, the governance council has the state chief ministers and the lieutenant governors. And what are the criticisms of NITI Aayog? Like planning commission or the drawbacks of the NITI Aayog. The drawbacks of the NITI Aayog includes, like planning commission, it is also a non-constitutional body which is not responsible to parliament, dismantled planning commission without consulting the states. UTs are represented by lieutenant governors, not by the chief ministers. This is against the principles of federalism. Fund allocation to welfare schemes may get affected. For example, there is a 20% reduction in gender budgeting. Finally, the conclusion of the NITI Aayog. NITI Aayog will function in close cooperation, consultation, and coordination with the ministries of the central government and state governments. While it makes recommendations to the central and state governments, the responsibility of taking and implementing decisions will rest with them. NITI Aayog will seek to facilitate and empower the critical requirement of the good governance, which is people-centric, participative, collaborative, transformative, and policy-driven. It will provide critical directional and strategic input to the development process, focusing on deliveries and outcomes. This, along with being as an incubator and disseminator of fresh thought and ideas for development, will be the core mission of NITI Aayog. So this is all about the NITI Aayog. So any doubts regarding the constitutional bodies or the NITI Aayog? Lakshmi and Manoj Kumar. In tomorrow's class, we are going to discuss about the regulatory authorities. Thank you.